Welcome everyone to I Take.
The
Thank you for joining us once again for another episode. Today, I want to share something with you before we start our topic. So, did you know that the number one distraction in many marriages is raising children?
That's interesting.
That is interesting. So, that's why today's topic is marriage, kids, and boundaries. And that's our theme for today.
Yeah, so I'll start off. Well, one is remember you can check us out on I Take D Ministry. If you have any questions that you want to ask us, please private message us like that. Your stuff is not all out there. We'll either respond there if there's a topic that you want us to bring up. Also let us know there. Okay, so I Take D Ministry. Share this video with as many people as you can, and as we promised, we're going to be with you just 15 minutes. Of your time. So as my wife said, we're talking today about marriage, kids, and boundaries. And the first one I want to talk about is time, quality time with your child, your children, versus quality time with your spouse. And the reason I want to talk about that is because you have to remember that yes, as a parent, it is extremely important that you spend time with your kids. I mean, that's what it's all about, being nurturing, spending some real quality time. But at the same time, my wife and I have realized that same quality time that we like to spend with our kids, because we should also spend it with our spouses. And one of the ways that my wife and I do that is, especially when we're working and we're just going here, going there, taking care of the kids throughout the day and doing this and doing that. At nighttime is the perfect time. So one of the things we built with our oldest and now even our youngest is that it comes a certain time, like 8:30 at night, she's going to bed. She's not going to be hanging out with us. One, she has school, but the other is by sending them to bed early, they benefit because they get to rest, but we benefit as well, my wife and I, because that gives us our time, our quality time. And so you need to be consistent. Be consistent with making sure the kids go to bed at early enough where you can have some one-on-one time with your spouse.
Absolutely. I mean, you create those boundaries by doing that. You create a schedule, and it's not just when they're small, but that schedule continues with them for a long period of time until all this now is away from now out in college. And our youngest one, follows that schedule and allows us to have a lot of time.
Yeah, you gotta make that time. If you don't make that time and you're always just spending quality time with the kids and never with your spouse, when you become an empty nester,
that's right.
You don't know each other, and we don't want to be there.
No,
so at an early age in our marriage, we realize, hold on, you know what? It's time for you to go to bed, because now it's mommy and daddy time, or daddy and mommy's time.
And I think for us, because we have such a busy schedule, and many couples can probably relate to us of our hour schedule. And if you're involved in church and you have a ministry in church or a leader in church, you can probably understand
secular
what
jobs.
we go through, right? And our secular job and in church, and we have a lot of responsibilities.
Kids in sports.
That's right. It doesn't give us that many time together, but we have to make those sacrifices and have that time. And sometimes at nighttime, that's probably the one time we see each other from the rest of our busy schedule, but we set that time aside. So the next thing I want to bring up of our boundaries that we often create, as parents, because sometimes we're young and we don't understand the concept of marriage, but that's our bedroom, our master bedroom, and bringing our kids into our bedroom and having that as to become a hangout for kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a big no-no for us. I'm not saying for many couples, but for us, it's like, no, this is our bedroom. This is where we are intimate together. This is where mom and dad spend time.
Yeah.
And this is sacred for us. And we create that.
I always ask couples, like, what would you even want your kids to hang out in your bed? Like, think about the things that happen in that bed aside from sleeping. Do you really want your kids in that bed where you and your spouse, it's probably the most intimate space that you have? That you don't want that. And I know some some homes have like very challenging, their spaces are very limited, but still your bedroom should not be your kids hangout spot.
Oh, absolutely. And and that brings to the other thing of having kids sleep in your room.
Oh.
Oh, mommy and daddy, I want to sleep with you tonight. Unless it's an emergency of the child is extremely ill, extremely sick, and but other than that, you have to create those standards and say, no, this is mommy and papi's bedroom, and no, you can't sleep here. That's what you have your room for. And we have to get away from that. And if you're a couple who are experiencing that, and probably your other spouse is the one that actually entertains the matter, it's time for both of you to have a nice conversation about, no, we have to create boundaries, because if we are going to spend time with each other and this is the only time we have each other, even if it's sleeping, that's intimacy. That's sharing some time together, right?
Absolutely.
Cuddling and just being with your spouse. That's important. I can't even speak for those couples who partners are working third shift, how hard that might be. That's still sacred. One of the things that I want to share is when my husband is away for conferences, for business, I still can feel his smell in that pillow, that side of the bed. In that I can just.
Hey, it's a good smell.
It's a good smell, of course. It's my husband's smell, and I can just feel that he's there, even though he's not there. But I cuddle with that pillow. I know that he's there with me, and those are things that you don't want to lose. Because when he's away for 2 or 3 days, like my husband sometimes is, that's my comfort, that's my side. I'm saving that spot for when he comes back home. So please, I know most parents can't get away from having their kids sleep with them, but this is something that is really damaging in your marriage, and it may not seem such a big deal, but in the long run it does cause some bad.
It just creates division. I mean, when you think about it, where do they sleep? They sleep in the middle. So by sleeping in the middle, they're really
automatically dividing.
They're
right?
They're automatically dividing.
They're already dividing.
They're that wall that you can't reach out and touch your husband or your wife, and it's not the best. Again, think about the things that happen in that atmosphere. Like, you don't want your kids in that, and they have their own rooms. So if they have their own rooms, just make sure they're in their room. Make your space for you and your spouse. Make that sacred. My kids, they're never allowed to just like lay in my bed and chill in my bed. No, they're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to just, again, like my wife said, it should never be their hangout spot. Our room should never be their hangout spot. That is our privacy. The same way I give them their privacy in their room, that is our privacy, and we don't want to do that. So the one other thing that we wanted to talk about when we talk about marriage, kids, and boundaries is to be on the same page. I know that's a hard one for some parents because, for example, my wife has a different style of discipline than I do, and kids don't be fooled by the kids.
That's right.
They know how to split parents up. They'll say like, oh, but I'll ask mommy because I know she'll say yes, when she knew or he knew that daddy already said no, or vice versa. Maybe mom said no and then they come to dad. And I used to get caught up in that so much, and I had to learn the hard way with my wife, and I really had to have a conversation. And she said, hun, we can't make each other look like we're divided. They try to play that whole divide and conquer, and we don't want to do that. So even if, I remember one time, my wife, because I came from the military, so I had a hard time really approaching my kids in a way that was consistent, but not so harsh. My kids were not soldiers, so I needed to make sure that. But one thing I appreciate about my wife is that even when she didn't agree with what I was saying to the kids or the way I was approaching discipline, she never said it in front of them like, hey, that's not the way to do it. She never took that away from me. Like, what she would do is she would wait for the kids not to be in the same room, and then she would say to me, you know what, hun, that approach maybe is not the best approach, and maybe you should try this. And I needed to be man enough to recognize the criticism or the best approach for it, and that she wasn't, I stepped back. Not criticism, she was just giving me advice so I can be a better father. And the same with her. Like, if I felt that she was being too harsh, I would tell her in private. I wouldn't tell her that in front of the kids.
Absolutely. I think that's very important. How many marriages are listening in? How many of your conflicts actually have to do with your children, right? and we're just sharing a little bit of light of our own experiences. This is our topics today is building a healthy marriage,
Yes.
and we're building a healthy marriage by the experience. We're sharing the experiences that we had into building, and this is for some may not see it like a big deal, but it is a big deal.
How many times you and I got into argument
Right?
because of the kids?
Because of the kids.
She said no, and then they played me. The kids came to me and said, "Daddy, can I do this?" And I jumped right into saying yes. When the approach should have been like, you know what? Because my approach shouldn't, if my kids come to me, my approach shouldn't be like, go ask your mother. No, my approach should be, Mommy and I will talk.
That's right.
And then we, together,
That's
we
right.
will let you know what the answer will be. Like that, if let's say my wife and I have a conversation and I'm the one who actually said no, and my wife was like, I don't have any reservation towards it, but I said no. When I come to my kids, and we just tell them, look, we both agree that is a no. The kids can't tell
Exactly.
who was it.
Exactly.
They would just feel that when it's a yes, it's a united
yes.
yes, and when it's
Correct.
a no, it's a united no.
That's so important.
I wish somebody would have told us that.
Way before, way at the beginning, right? I think
I can't even
we
count
learned
how many
our lessons.
disagreements we could have like saved, and being mad at each other because the kids. And I don't say that because the kids are doing it maliciously. It's just a survival mode. They they want to get their way.
They
So.
want to get their way, and it just make my oldest does it to me all the time. And she's in
Still.
college, and she's like, "Well, Mom, do you have an answer for me?" And my answer is like, "I do not." And it's, "But why not?" And because I haven't talked to your father about it. I said, "Me and your dad need to have a conversation about before we make a decision, and when we make a decision, we will let you know." And now she just kind of like, okay, I understand that. She doesn't even go try anymore, right? To go around me and go tell Dad, hey, are you okay with this? Because she knows that we are one.
Absolutely.
We are one.
And
So
remember, that's what it's all
we
about.
are one, and she understands that. Now the youngest is beginning to understand that. It's taking her time because she's young, but she understands that it's a solid yes, then it's a solid no, regardless if we feel different about the decision, because we have to agree and we have to become one. And you know what? It teaches our kids, right, to see a marriage, how a marriage should look like, right? Our goal for our daughters, we have 2 girls, and our goal is that when they are ready to select that partner for the rest of their life, their husband, is that they understand that, wow, I want a marriage like Mommy and Dad. I'm proud of saying that, because we're being the role models to that. You have to be a role model to your parents, to your children. You want your marriage to be healthy and strong, and you want your kids to have that as well. So the only way they're going to have it, the only way our daughters are going to choose the right husband, if we are building that model for them.
Yeah.
And it's hard, right? And it's challenging, but we are doing it together as one. And we want to make sure that when they grow older and they are ready to select that partner, that they are one.
Yeah, that's really what it's all about. You got to show that, you have to show that it's one team. It's not us against them or them against us. It's just you got to be able to build that team and build that respect for each other.
That's right.
So the kids don't split you, but you also take some time to be have quality time with your children.
That's important. That's
Yeah.
really important.
So our time is coming up. We want to remind you that this is I Take D Ministry. You can follow us on Facebook. Please share our videos with others.
Yes.
If it makes a difference and it can help someone, if you have any questions that you want to ask, or you have any suggestions for topics, private message us, let us know, and we will try our very best.
Yes,
Again,
we will.
we're not coming with these videos as like we're experts.
No.
We're just sharing like our own experiences, because we know look, we wish we would have we would have like
This
the
kind of
what to
conversation,
expect
right? Right?
what to expect when you're expecting, and that's really the difference, and that's how it is. So we want to make sure you get the same opportunities, and that we provide that for you, that we create that atmosphere.
Absolutely.
So